In the quiet heart of medieval Germany, nestled between gentle hills and the lazy curves of the Weser River, lies the town of Hamelin. Today, it is a picturesque place, famous for its half-timbered houses and charming streets. But centuries ago, it was the stage of one of the darkest and most enduring mysteries in European folklore. A tale of music, betrayal, and the chilling disappearance of a town's children. This is the legend of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, a story whispered through time, shadowed by tragedy, and cloaked in unanswered questions. The earliest accounts of the Pied Piper legend trace back to the year 1284. Unlike many medieval folktales, this story does not center around a mythical beast or divine intervention. Instead, it centers on an event, a specific date, a precise number. It is said that on June 26, 1284, 130 children vanished from the town of Hamelin, led away by a mysterious piper dressed in multicolored clothing, never to return. The town was left grieving, confused, and haunted by guilt, a guilt that seems to echo through the centuries. The story begins with a problem. Hamelin, like many medieval towns, was struggling with a rat infestation. The rats were everywhere, chewing through food stores, spreading disease, and gnawing away at the town's resources. No one knew what to do. Then, one day, a strange man appeared. He was unlike anyone the townspeople had seen before. Tall, thin, and clad in a patchwork of vivid colors. Reds, yellows, greens. He carried a flute and promised the town he could rid them of their problem. In return, he asked for a modest sum of gold. Desperate and doubtful, the town elders agreed. Then, to their astonishment, the piper began to play his flute. A haunting, hypnotic melody floated through the air. And as he walked through the streets, the rats began to follow him, pouring out of houses, cellars, and wells. They swarmed at his heels as if entranced. He led them to the Weser River, and one by one, they plunged into the waters and drowned. The town rejoiced. The nightmare was over. But when the piper returned to claim his payment, the townspeople refused to pay the agreed amount. They laughed him off, insulted him, and dismissed his role in their deliverance. Betrayed and furious, the piper left, but not before issuing a dark promise. They would regret their treachery. Then, on that fateful day in June, he returned. This time, he played a different tune, one meant not for rats, but for children. As he walked through the streets of Hamelin, playing his enchanted melody, the children, mesmerized, smiling, and unaware, began to follow. Boys and girls of all ages left their homes, their toys, and their families, marching after the piper as if in a trance. He led them out of the town and into the mountains, and they were never seen again. In some versions of the tale, only 2 or 3 children remain behind, one blind, one deaf, and one lame, unable to keep up, and so become the only witnesses to the event. In others, a child runs back at the last moment to fetch something and is spared. But in all versions, the central horror remains. An entire generation vanishes in a single moment. Unlike many folktales, the legend of the Pied Piper is supported by eerie historical evidence. A stained glass window, dated around 1300, once stood in the church of Hamelin. It depicted a man in colorful clothing leading a group of children away. Though the window was destroyed in the 17th century, multiple accounts of it exist in earlier writings. Additionally, a strange entry appears in the town's official records. "It is 100 years since our children left." This line suggests that the townspeople believed in the event's truth and commemorated its devastating impact. So what really happened in Hamelin? Historians have proposed various theories, some mundane, others chilling. One theory is that the children were victims of mass emigration. During the late 13th century, German colonization of Eastern Europe was underway, and lords were recruiting young settlers to populate new lands. Some believe that the piper was a metaphorical recruiter, perhaps a charismatic leader or land agent, who lured the youth of Hamelin to leave their homes in search of fortune, never to return. Others speculate darker outcomes. Perhaps the children were victims of disease, a plague that specifically targeted the young. The piper, in this version, is a personification of death itself, leading children to their graves with sweet music. The multicolored clothes, then, become symbolic of the flagellants and plague doctors of the time. The cheerful tune, Death's Lullaby. Some folklorists have suggested that the piper was a revenant, a vengeful spirit who returned to claim the town's most precious resource. In this telling, the betrayal of the townspeople broke a supernatural pact, unleashing an ancient curse. The children, pure and innocent, became the price of the town's greed. More speculative still are the accounts that link the tale to ancient pagan rituals. According to this theory, the children of Hamelin were not stolen, but sacrificed, offered in a forgotten rite to ensure fertility, harvest, or protection from evil. Over time, the memory of the ritual was suppressed, buried beneath centuries of Christian influence, and rewritten into the parable we know today. The notion of a piper who lures victims away with music has parallels in other cultures as well. In Irish folklore, the fairy music of the Sidhe could enchant mortals, leading them to vanish into the fairy realm. In Slavic myths, spirits known as vodniks or Rizalki lure children to watery graves with songs and promises. And in the Greek tale of Orpheus, music is a bridge between worlds, a force so powerful it can charm death itself. In all these traditions, music is more than entertainment. It is magic. It is seduction. It is power. The Pied Piper endures because his story feels both fantastical and uncomfortably real. We recognize the themes: betrayal, punishment, innocence lost. We see the consequences of broken promises, the dangers of arrogance, and the cost of greed. The story is not just about a town's children. It's about human nature. What makes the tale even more unnerving is its ambiguity. The piper is neither entirely evil nor entirely just. He is a figure of retribution, but also one of mystery. He fulfills his promise. He does exactly what he said he would do. But he also commits an act of unspeakable cruelty. He is both the victim and the villain. Some modern adaptations have tried to soften the story. In children's books, the piper often returns the children after the town begs for forgiveness. In musicals and films, he is portrayed as a misunderstood hero or a tragic figure. But the original tale is stark, uncompromising, and devoid of redemption. There is no happy ending in Hamelin. The town, to this day, acknowledges the event. There are no street performances or loud music allowed on Bungalow Sensstras, the street where the children were said to have last been seen. Tour guides in Hamelin walk visitors through the timeline of the disappearance, and a modern statue of the Pied Piper stands in the town square, a reminder that beneath the fairy tale charm lies a deep well of darkness. What did the people of Hamelin truly see that day in 1284? Was it a man with a flute, a tragic migration, a plague, or something far more sinister? The truth is buried beneath layers of time, myth, and silence. But the question still lingers. If the Pied Piper came to your town, what would he play? And would you or your children follow? The mystery of the Pied Piper of Hamelin is a testament to how history and folklore intertwine, how trauma becomes legend, and legend shapes memory. In its chilling simplicity, the story warns us. Promises carry weight, and the price of betrayal may be greater than we can bear. Whether a cautionary tale, a historical riddle, or an allegory of death, the piper's tune still echoes in our collective imagination. And as long as children laugh and dance and dream, his melody may yet return, soft, distant, but always drawing closer.